What is it that we need in our community as community builders? To talk to a community builder par excellence, talk to Rawlson King. The point I want to make is, don't ask what Rawlson King is doing, ask what we can help Rawlson King to do. Community building is Rawlson King's nature. It is at the heart of his service. You want to know how to build a community? Ask Rawlson King. Since 2004, he and his wife, Linda Grossani, have lived in Overbrook, the base of their community building. He has served as president of the Overbrook Community Association, as a board member of the Rideau Rockcliffe Community Resource Centre, president of Gallery 101. He's the first co-chair of the Ottawa Police Services Community Equity Council. He's the founding member, board member of the Rideau Winter Trail of Ottawa, and endless others. United Way has recognized his community service with a Community Builder Award. And in 2001, I was very, very proud and very pleased to recognize Councillor King with a special Community Builder Award from Black History Ottawa. Councillor King is a gratitude practitioner and philanthropist. You want to know how to give back, pay forward? Ask Rawlson King and his wife. One example, in gratitude to Carleton University, Councillor King and his wife has established the Scholarship for Indigenous, Black and Racialized Students at Carleton University. He was grateful to Carleton. Thank you. He was grateful to Carleton for the chance that Carleton gave him, and he wants Carleton to be in a position to give other people a similar chance. Councillor King was born and raised in Toronto. His early schooling was at Bayview Glen School. He holds a Bachelor of Journalism and Law and an MA in Communication from Carleton University. He made his living as an entrepreneur and communications professional in high technology marketing research. His parents came to Canada from the Caribbean with an ancestry in the history of the islands that we all know. His mother from St. Vincent, his father from Aruba. I made up this story. The following story. My story is, I see his parents taking a Trans-Canada Airlines flight to Toronto, flying north to Canada, the land of the North Star. Some folks took the Underground Railroad. These folks are taking the plane. I picture them hoping for the North Star experience. From what I read, they didn't get it. Still, they didn't get the North Star experience, but they gave us Rawlston. I hear Martin Luther's voice at the Massey Lecture in Toronto, 1967. And he is saying, Canada is not merely a neighbor to Negroes. Deep in our history of struggle for freedom, Canada was the North Star. The Negro slave, denied education, dehumanized, imprisoned on cruel plantations, knew that far to the north, a land existed where a fugitive slave, if he survived the horrors of the journey, could find freedom. When Rawlston's parents came, slavery was long over. But the North Star experience that they hoped for did not materialize. And so they brought forth a son who is creating that North Star experience for us in Ottawa. That's not a small feat. So I ask you, please stand and give a rousing ovation to this man of St. Vincent.
Good afternoon, everybody. I was going to say that I might have lost my voice there, but I regained it. And I have to apologize. I'm still recuperating from being under the weather. So if my voice cracks, it's not because of the support that I don't feel that I'm receiving. I'm receiving a tremendous amount of support in the community. And I'd like to acknowledge through June my mother, who recently passed away. And despite the fact that you said there was a visitation and it might have been fiction, I don't think it was. Because when I was going through my mother's papers, she wrote a lot. And I think at the end of the day, I'm probably going to be tasked with writing a biography, the biography that she didn't write. She did say, in her own words, that her contribution, her proudest contribution, was her children. So I think that you are on the same wavelength. In fact, you might not remember this, but you met her on my second inauguration. And I think of her often, based on the challenges that we face, but noting that we are moving forward to a better place. So distinguished guests, community leaders, award recipients, and fellow advocates for social justice, good afternoon. As Ottawa's City Council Liaison for Anti-Racism and Ethnocultural Relations, it is my profound honor to address you at this milestone celebration, the 20th Annual Dreamkeepers Award Ceremony for Racial Harmony and Human Rights. But before I begin, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that the peoples of the Algonquin-Anishinaabe Nation have lived on this territory for millennia. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. The City of Ottawa honors the people and land of the Algonquin-Anishinaabe Nation, and the City of Ottawa honors all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people, and their valuable past and present contributions to this land. I also want to acknowledge Daniel Stringer, who is not here, and Suzanne Weeks, who is here, whose visionary leadership has made this celebration possible for 2 decades. Your unwavering dedication to social justice has created a legacy that continues to inspire and transform our community, and I want to thank you for that personally, and I think that we should applaud them for their efforts. As we gather here today, we stand in the long shadow cast by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream, a dream that remains both a beacon of hope and an urgent call to action. The impactful work of Dr. King remains a vital and relevant today as it was during his lifetime. This year, the United States commemorates the 30th anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So that is today. And I can't think of anything more I want to celebrate. I think there's a high irony today because MLK Day was the first federal holiday to honor a national figure who wasn't a president. It also is the only federal holiday established by the United States Congress as a national day of service, inspiring individuals across the United States to honor his legacy by volunteering and actively working to improve their communities. And when I think of what's going on today in the Congressional Rotunda, I think it is important for us to remember that MLK Day is always a day to reflect and act for the betterment of all people. This day is a profound reminder of the journey of diversity, equity, and inclusion Dr. King wanted to usher in a society rooted in dignity and equality. Today is a call to action. We must all work to build bridges, call out disrespect and discrimination, correct false narratives, commit to allyship, and advocate for all people. Since the 61 years when he gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, there has been some progress made in America and around the world, and even in our city, on social equity. But Dr. King's pursuit of equal rights and opportunities for all people continues to be mostly unrealized. But what we need to remember is that Dr. King's vision went far beyond the elimination of racial segregation. His vision of a beloved community was a practical blueprint for a society built upon the twin foundations of economic and racial justice. Dr. King's famous declaration, which I think we heard earlier today, that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, wasn't just a slogan. It was a profound moral commitment that compelled him to speak out for all who faced oppression. He understood that true freedom could only be achieved through both social and economic justice, recognizing that the ability to sit at an integrated lunch counter meant little if people could not afford to eat there. Here in Ottawa, we see the contemporary echoes of these challenges. While we pride ourselves on being a diverse and inclusive city, we continue to grapple with disparities in housing, in employment, in education, and healthcare access. The impact of these inequalities fall disproportionately on our racialized communities, especially the Black communities, much as they did in Dr. King's time. But today we also celebrate progress. In terms of the city, this city, in 2022, we established an anti-racism strategy to proactively identify and remove systemic barriers in city policies, programs, and services. And not unlike what many people said today, that wasn't something that I achieved. That's something that the community as a whole achieved. This strategy proposes an action plan with several areas of focus in employment equity, economic development, and improving health and youth outcomes by way of 28 recommendations and 132 specific actions. What I'm most proud of is that these recommendations and specific actions were authored not by me, but by the over 1,000 people in our community that came together to have a discussion to really talk about what the focus of our city's anti-racism strategy should be. Through its anti-racism strategy, the city is working to develop and implement sustainable initiatives to support the ongoing long-term effort to eliminate systemic racism and promote racial equity in our community. We know that that's not going to happen overnight. You can't erase hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of history overnight. But achieving racial equity and prioritizing the anti-racism strategy continues to be critical for the city to develop and deliver programs and services that respond to the diverse needs of Ottawa residents and create a more equitable and inclusive workplace throughout the city. I'm also proud that in 2024, just a few months into the previous year, the city approved its first comprehensive poverty reduction strategy in a decade. Through extensive consultations with over 350 participants from more than 70 organizations, the city has developed a framework that will work to address the root causes of poverty through 5 essential pillars, including food security, employment, financial security, economic development, and integrated social service pathways. The strategy includes several concrete actions that will begin making a difference quickly. Increased funding for mentorship programs for Indigenous, Black, and racialized youth, improved coordination of food security initiatives, and enhanced coordination of tax clinics to help low-income residents access benefits. The creation and implementation of these policies has only been achieved through the hard work and contributions of individual community members. Community members are at the heartbeat of social change and the driving force behind meaningful progress towards racial and social equity. When individuals from all walks of life step forward to advocate for social justice, challenge discriminatory systems, and support their neighbors, they create ripples that transform into waves of positive change. From organizing grassroots initiatives and mentoring youth to participating in local government and fostering inclusive spaces, community members demonstrate that the path to equity is paved by countless small acts of courage and commitment. Their daily choices to stand up against discrimination, amplify marginalized voices, and bridge divides between different groups help weave a stronger social fabric that benefits everyone. Moreover, the power of community action lies in its ability to address inequality at its roots, where systemic change begins. When community members come together to share resources, knowledge, and support, they create sustainable solutions that reflect the real needs and experiences of those most affected by discrimination. Their firsthand understanding of local challenges enables them to develop targeted approaches that governmental policies alone cannot achieve. Through volunteer work, mutual aid networks, and collaborative problem solving, community members show that lasting change comes not just from top-down reforms, but from the ground up, from people who recognize that their individual actions, when united with others, can reshape society into one that truly honors the dignity and potential of all its members. It is therefore important to acknowledge and celebrate their contributions. That is why I want to commend each and every award recipient we are celebrating here today. Each of our award recipients represents a living embodiment of Dr. King's dream. Through their work, they demonstrate that positive change is possible when we combine vision with action, courage with compassion, and determination with hope. These dream keepers before us remind us that Dr. King's vision was not just about dreaming, it was about doing. He saw himself first and foremost as someone called to stand up for justice and truth. This required not just words, but direct action and an unwavering commitment to transforming systems of inequality. As we mark 2 decades of the Dreamkeeper Awards, we must ask ourselves, what are we doing to build the beloved community that Dr. King envisioned? In our roles as community leaders, policymakers, and citizens, the most important role in a society, we must continue to push for meaningful change. This means supporting initiatives that create pathways to economic opportunity for marginalized communities, advocating for affordable housing and equitable urban development, working to eliminate systemic barriers in our institutions and workplaces, and building bridges between communities to foster understanding and cooperation. The power of Dr. King's words and methods continues to inspire movements for justice worldwide. His dream was never just about creating racial harmony, and I think we heard that said here before. It was about creating a society where everyone, and I mean everyone, has the opportunity to reach their full potential. Economic justice and social justice are 2 sides of the same coin. We cannot have one without the other. As Ottawa's Council Liaison for Anti-Racism and Ethnocultural Relations, I'm committed to advancing this holistic vision of justice. But this work belongs to all of us. Each person in this room has the power to be a dream keeper, to carry forward Dr. King's legacy in your own sphere of influence. To our award recipients, your work embodies the spirit of Dr. King's dream. You show us that while the arc of the moral universe may be long, it bends towards justice because people like you put their hands on that arc and pull it towards justice. To everyone here today, let us leave this celebration renewed in our commitment to economic and social justice. I know when I started to take in this program, I was almost immediately refreshed, because really this is a celebration of Black excellence. And it's not just the people who have received the awards today. It's many of the faces that I see in this room today, that I know people really labor day after day, hour by hour, to improve the community. And I want you to know that we appreciate that. So let us continue to work together to build a city and a world where Dr. King's beloved community becomes reality for all its people. As Dr. King reminded us, we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Let us honor his legacy, not just through our words, but through our actions, our policies, and our unwavering commitment to justice. Thank you, and congratulations again to all of today's honorees.